Hi, in this video we are going to add to Notes B, this water diagram in your notebook, and then we're also going to finish Notes C. So you can either make two windows or you can keep the two tabs open, this video and Notes B, and flip back and forth. So this is the water cycle, and we have words in blue up here. And then we have words in green over here. And the words in blue are surface water, water that's on the surface. And so this is looking kind of a side view. So this is underground. Everything below this line is underground. All of this is underground, and this is above ground. And so we have our water cycle words. We've got water running off, going down to this floodplain. This is an area where a river floods, and then we have a hill going up where there's trees, and all these water cycle words going on up here. So where's the surface water? Well, we have, then we have underground water. That's the water that's below the ground. And we're going to have to figure out what this unconfined aquifer is and confined aquifer. So over here in the middle, you see, that's a river. So we're looking at a side view, right? So it's kind of coming from this, going through the page. And then over up here, way in the very corner, we have a lake. All right, and so the lake and the river put together, that's where the surface water is. They're water that's on the surface. They're fed by runoff. That's how the water gets there. And if you were going to look for water, that would be the water that's the easiest to find. So we're adding these notes to our diagram here. Surface water is lakes and rivers, and it's really easy to find. But also, if there's any junk, any chemicals, any oil on the ground, it's going to come to the surface water first. So it's the easiest to pollute. So that's one of the problems with drinking surface water. So now let's think about the underground water. How does the water get underground? Well, it gets underground by instead of running off on the top, it goes underground by infiltration. But what does it mean that there's water here? This is an unconfined aquifer. There's water here. There's impervious rock here. And here's another aquifer down here. That's where the water is. But what does that mean? It doesn't mean it's a big cave of water. That's what these little drawings are over here. This is just to show you that these areas underground are just rock. It's sand or gravel or rock, and it's in between. You know that in between the sediment is air. We checked the porosity of that before, and we knew that good soil had 50% air. And so above where the water is, that is called a zone of aeration, because in between these little sediments is just air. So let's write that down. Air between the sediments. We're going to call that the zone of aeration. That's everywhere above this green line. Because what happens is water goes through this area and it keeps on going down, because water goes down until it hits this rock that it can't go down anymore. And it just slowly is going to pile up over here. So this is rock, this is sediment that has water piled up into it up to that green line. And that is an aquifer. And really it's just sediment right here, right? Sediment, same kind of sediment there, except now between the sediments is water. So we call that the zone of saturation, water between sediments. So we do have two kinds of aquifers. We have this unconfined aquifer, and the water gets there by when it rains. Because when it rains, water is going to infiltrate through all this layers of sediment and just go down and fill this unconfined aquifer. But water can't pass through this rock. So how does water get into this aquifer? This is called the confined aquifer. And if you follow it way up here, if water lands right here in this recharge zone, then it can get replenished that way. So next to the confined aquifer, we're going to write recharges slowly, because it only has this tiny little recharge zone right there. So how are we going to get to this water? We got to get to this water by putting in a well. So let's put a well there. This is just a pipe going down, and this is a pump, and we can pump water out of this aquifer because there's water in between those sediments. Or we can put a different well in, and we can go all the way down to this aquifer. So let's use some of that information to describe underground water. Oops, underground water right here. So underground water fills the space between the sediments. It's not a big cavern or anything, but it's hard to get to. You have to pump it out. You have to dig a well. But because it's hard to get to, it's hard to pollute as well. So it's going to be cleaner water. That's important to remember. So let's use this information to fill out some information in notes C. So if we go up here where it says sources of surface water, we've got lakes and rivers, and sources of groundwater, we have confined and unconfined aquifer. So for each one of those, what are the pros? What are the cons? What's good about each one of those sources, and what's bad about each one of those sources? Use the diagram and the information in this video to answer those questions. And see you soon.